The great hall of the Galactic Concord stretched for miles. Its ceiling was made of pure crystal, showing the stars above. 17 species had built this place together over 12,000 years. They believed they were the rulers of everything that existed. They believed nothing could challenge them. When the human ship arrived, it was small. Just one vessel, barely larger than a transport shuttle. The aliens watched it dock with amusement in their eyes. Some of them laughed openly. Others simply turned away, already bored. Ambassador Park stepped off the ship first. He was a man of 60 years with gray hair at his temples and calm brown eyes. He wore a simple dark suit. No medals, no fancy decorations. Behind him walked Captain, a woman in her 40s with short black hair and a soldier's straight posture. 20 guards followed them, all in plain uniforms. The delegate rose from his seat. His name was High Arbiter, and his body was made of living crystal that caught the light and threw rainbows across the floor. He stood 3 meters tall and looked down at the humans like they were insects. "So these are the newcomers," said. His voice echoed through the hall. "The species that took 200 years just to leave their own planet. How amusing." Laughter rippled through the assembly. The beings that looked like giant insects with shining black shells clicked their mandibles together in mockery. The serpents with 4 arms and scales that shifted colors coiled their bodies and hissed with contempt. Bowed his head politely. "Thank you for receiving us, High Arbiter. Humanity seeks only peaceful relations with the Galactic Concord." "Peaceful relations," repeated, and more laughter followed. "Look at them. One ship, one small delegation. Do they not understand where they stand?" A delegate leaned forward. "Perhaps their tiny brains cannot process our greatness. We should speak slower for them." His jaw tightened. Her hand moved slightly toward her sidearm but touched her arm gently. A small gesture, a reminder. She forced herself to relax. "We understand perfectly," said, his voice still calm and warm. "We are new to the galactic community. We have much to learn from species as ancient and wise as yourselves." Studied the human for a long moment. There was something in the man's eyes that made him uncomfortable, though he could not say what. It was like looking at still water and sensing something large moving beneath the surface. But the feeling passed quickly. These were just humans. Weak, short-lived, fragile creatures from a small planet at the edge of nowhere. "Very well," announced. "The Concord has discussed your application. You will be granted provisional species status at Tier 7. Murmurs went through the hall. Tier 7 was the lowest rank. It meant almost nothing. Tier 7 species could not vote. They could not trade freely. They could not travel without permission. They were barely better than animals in the eyes of the Conquered. "You may settle in the outer rim," continued. "The dead zones beyond our territories, frozen moons, irradiated wastelands, worlds we have no use for. You should be grateful we offer you anything at all." Bowed again. "We are grateful, we accept your generous terms." Stared at him in disbelief. She wanted to scream. She wanted to tell these arrogant creatures exactly what she thought of them, but its expression remained peaceful, almost serene. "Is there anything else?" asked, clearly eager to end this waste of his time. "Only a question, if I may," said. "Why did the Conquered agree to meet with us at all? You clearly find us beneath your notice." His crystal face shifted into something that might have been a smile. "Because it amuses us. Because in 10,000 years, when your species has gone extinct like so many others, we will still be here. We wanted to see what you looked like before you disappeared." The assembly laughed again, louder this time. The sound filled the great hall and bounced off the crystal ceiling. Smiled, a real smile, small and patient. "I see. Thank you for your honesty, High Arbiter." The human delegation turned and walked back to their ship. Their footsteps echoed in the silence between the waves of laughter. They did not look back. They did not respond to the insults thrown at their backs. When the airlock closed behind them, finally spoke. "Sir, they treated us like dirt, like we were nothing. How can you just accept that? Walked to the viewport and looked out at the massive station surrounding them. Ships from 100 worlds came and went. The power of the conquered was real and vast and ancient. "Tell me, Captain," he said quietly, "when you hunt, do you announce yourself to your prey?" Frowned, "No, sir." "When you build a fortress, do you show your enemies the blueprints?" "No, sir." Turned to face her. His calm eyes held something else now, something cold and patient and very, very old. "They see one ship because we chose to send one ship. They see weakness because we want them to see weakness. Pride makes people blind, Captain, and blind people never see what is coming until it is too late." He looked back at the viewport as their ship began to pull away from the station. "Let them laugh, let them mock, let them believe we are nothing. In 100 years they will learn the truth, and by then it will be far too late for them to do anything about it." Watched her ambassador's reflection in the glass. For the first time she understood. This was not surrender. This was not weakness. This was the first move in a very long game. And humanity intended to win. 100 years passed like water through fingers. The humans did exactly what the conquered expected. They took the dead worlds. They settled on frozen moons where the air itself could kill. They built colonies on planets so toxic that other species had marked them as worthless forever. They paid their taxes. They followed the rules. They bowed their heads and said thank you. The conquered forgot about them. Deep in the outer rim, far from any patrol routes, there was an asteroid field that stretched across 3 star systems. It looked empty on every scanner. It looked like nothing but rocks and ice and darkness. Fleet Admiral stood on the observation deck of Station Omega-7 and watched the shipyards work. The station was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid the size of a small moon. Around it, thousands of construction platforms floated in perfect formation, and on those platforms, ships were being born. Not small ships, not the modest transports the conquered allowed humans to build. These were dreadnoughts. Each one was 3 kilometers long. Each one carried weapons that the galaxy had never seen. Each one was painted black, designed to vanish against the void of space. Vice Admiral walked up beside him. She was a stern woman with silver streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen too much suffering. "The latest reports from the colonies," she said, handing him a tablet. "They have raised our trade tariffs again, 40% this time." Read the numbers without expression, and our people. Struggling. The settlement on Hair IV cannot afford medicine. Children are dying from diseases we cured 300 years ago. All because the conquered will not let us trade freely. Set down the tablet. Below them, another dreadnought slid out of its construction cradle, complete and ready for war. Workers in environmental suits guided it toward the hidden fleet, where it joined its sisters in the darkness. "How many does that make?" asked. 127,000. Was quiet for a moment. When will it be enough? When we have so many that war becomes impossible. When the number is so overwhelming that they cannot even think about fighting us. When we can protect every human world, every human colony, every human life, all at once. "People are suffering now," said. "Every day we wait, more of our people die." Turned to face her. His face was lined with age and worry, but his eyes were steady. "I know. I carry every death with me. But if we move too soon, if we reveal ourselves before we are ready, they will crush us. The conquered has 12,000 warships. We need to be so strong that fighting us is not just difficult. It must be unthinkable." On Earth, in a chamber deep beneath the old mountains, Defense Minister addressed the secret assembly. 200 representatives from every human world sat in the darkness, their faces lit only by the glow of holographic displays. "Our grandparents remembered what it meant to be conquered," said. Her voice was strong and clear. "They remembered invasion and occupation and suffering. They swore that humanity would never kneel again, So they started building, in secret, in silence, in the shadows. She pressed a button and the display changed. A map of human space appeared, but it was not the map the Conquered knew. Hidden shipyards dotted every dead system. Underground factories stretched beneath frozen worlds. Training facilities turned ordinary citizens into soldiers. Our parents continued the work. They sacrificed everything. They accepted the insults, the tariffs, the restrictions. They smiled and bowed and paid tribute to species that saw us as less than animals. And all the while they built. The map zoomed out, revealing more and more shipyards, more factories, more ships. Now it is our turn. We will complete what our ancestors started. And when the day comes, our children will face the galaxy not as beggars but as equals. A young representative raised her hand. Minister, how much longer must we wait? My people are asking questions. They want to know why we accept such treatment. Nodded slowly. I understand, but think of it this way. A tree does not grow overnight. It takes years, decades, sometimes centuries. But when the storm comes, the tree does not break. It stands. We are growing roots now, deep roots, strong roots. And when the storm finally comes, we will not break. Back on Station Omega-7, received a communication from Earth. He read it carefully, then looked up at the viewport once more. What is it? Asked. New orders. We are to accelerate production. The Council believes we have 5 more years at most before something forces our hand. Can we do it? Pulled up the production schedules. More shipyards were coming online every month. New technologies were being developed faster than ever. The human race had poured every spare resource into this single goal for 100 years. We will have 400,000 dreadnoughts in 3 years, he said. 500,000 in 5. Let out a slow breath. 500,000. Can you imagine their faces when they see that? Allowed himself a small smile. It was not a kind smile. Every night I imagine it. Every night I think about High Arbiter and his laughter. I think about the who raise our taxes just to watch us struggle. I think about all the human children who died because we were not allowed to trade for medicine. He turned away from the viewport. One day soon they will understand. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. And humanity always pays its debts. The shipyards continued their work, day after day, year after year. The hidden fleet grew larger in the darkness, waiting for the moment when the stars would finally see what humanity had become. The moment was coming closer every day. 7 was not a beautiful world. Its air was thin and bitter. Its soil was gray and dead. Toxic storms swept across its surface 300 days a year. No species in the Conquered wanted it. So the humans took it. 12,000 people lived in the mining colony. They dug deep into the poisoned earth and pulled out rare minerals that powered starships across the galaxy. They worked hard. They raised families. They built schools and hospitals and small parks where children could play under filtered sunlight. Lee was 26 years old. She had lived on 7 her entire life. Her parents had been among the first settlers. Her father had died in a mining accident when she was 12. Her mother had passed from lung disease 3 years later, but stayed. This was her home. She was deep in the tunnels when the first explosion shook the ground. The ceiling cracked. Dust filled the air. Emergency lights flickered on, painting everything red. Grabbed her helmet and pulled it over her head just as a second explosion brought down a section of the corridor behind her. What is happening? Someone screamed. Did not stop to answer, she knew. Somehow in her gut she knew. They were under attack. She found her colleague Shin trapped under a fallen beam. Blood ran down his face from a deep cut on his forehead. His leg was bent at a wrong angle. Leave me, he gasped. Save yourself. Shut up, said. She grabbed his arms and pulled. The beam shifted, screamed in pain, but he came free. She dragged him down the corridor toward the emergency shelter. Above ground, the sky was filled with fire. Warships hung over the colony like black clouds. There were 20 of them. Each one was the size of a mountain. They fired their weapons again and again, not caring what they hit. Mining platforms exploded. Housing blocks collapsed. The hospital where had been born became a crater in the ground. The colony had one defense platform. The conquered laws allowed each Tier 7 settlement exactly one. It was small and old and carried weapons that were outdated 50 years ago. It fired twice before a cruiser vaporized it. In the emergency shelter, sealed the door behind her and helped onto a medical bed. Around them, other survivors huddled in the dim light. She counted 43 people, 43 out of 12,000. Why, whispered, his face was pale from blood loss. Why are they doing this? Looked at the ceiling as another explosion shook the shelter. Dust rained down on them. The minerals, she said, they decided they want what we have. The bombardment lasted 6 hours. When it finally stopped, 7 was silent. The mining platforms were gone. The housing blocks were gone. The schools and hospitals and little parks were gone. 8,000 humans had died in those 6 hours. 8,000 people who had done nothing wrong except live on a world that someone else wanted. The rescue ships arrived 12 hours later. Terran cruisers racing at maximum speed from the nearest human system. Captain O commanded the lead ship, a vessel called Indomitable. He had served in the fleet for 30 years. He had seen many terrible things, but nothing had prepared him for 7. The surface was black. Fires still burned where the mining platforms had stood. Bodies lay scattered in the streets, too many to count. They had not even bothered to take prisoners. They had simply killed everyone they could find and left. Was one of 300 survivors. The emergency shelters had protected them from the worst of the bombardment. When the rescue teams broke through the sealed doors, she walked out into the ruined world she had once called home. She did not cry, she was past crying. In the medical bay of the Indomitable, found her standing at a viewport. She stared at the burning planet below with empty eyes. "We are taking you home," he said gently, "to Earth. You will be safe there." Safe, repeated. The word sounded strange in her mouth. They murdered everyone, my friends, my neighbors, the children from the school where I taught evening classes, all dead. I know I am sorry. Turned to look at him. Her eyes were not empty anymore. They burned. What are we going to do about it? Was silent for a long moment. He thought about the hidden fleet. He thought about the 500,000 dreadnoughts waiting in the darkness. He thought about 100 years of patience and preparation and quiet suffering. Everything, he said, we are going to do everything. On Earth, the Parliament convened within hours of receiving the news. Defense Minister stood before the Assembly. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. 8,000 dead, she said. 8,000 innocent people murdered for minerals. They did not even try to negotiate. They did not offer to buy our claims. They simply attacked. Admiral's voice came through the secure channel from Station Omega 7. Minister, I await your orders. Looked at the faces around her. Grief, anger, 100 years of repressed fury, finally ready to break free. How many ships do we have? 487,000 dreadnoughts, all fully armed, all ready to deploy. Closed her eyes. She thought about her grandmother, who had lived through the last great war on Earth. She thought about her mother, who had helped design the first hidden shipyard. She thought about her daughter, who deserved to grow up in a galaxy where humans were not treated like animals. She opened her eyes. Activate them all. The order went out across human space. In hidden shipyards and secret bases, lights came on. Engines ignited. Weapons systems powered up. 500,000 dreadnoughts, each one 3 kilometers of black steel and righteous fury, prepared to reveal themselves to a galaxy that had forgotten what humanity could do. The century of patience was over. The time for justice had come. The emergency alarm screamed through the halls of the Galactic Concord. High Arbiter had been sleeping when it started. He rushed to the command center, his crystalline body catching the red emergency lights. Around him, delegates from 17 species scrambled to their stations. Fear hung in the air like smoke. "What is happening?" demanded. An intelligence officer turned from his console. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme distress. "Ships, High Arbiter. We are detecting ships." "Enemy ships, pirates, what species?" "Human ships, sir." Felt something cold settle in his chest. Humans. The Tier 7 primitives. They had barely 100 registered vessels. Their entire fleet could not threaten a single conquered patrol group. "Show me." The main display activated, stared at it. His crystal body went completely still. They were everywhere. Human ships emerged from fold space simultaneously across the entire galaxy. Not dozens, not hundreds, not even thousands. The sensors counted them automatically and the number kept climbing. 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. It did not stop. "This is impossible," a delegate hissed. "Where did they come from? How did they hide this many ships?" The number reached 400,000, then 450,000. Then it stopped at 487,000. Nearly 500,000 dreadnoughts. Each one was 3 kilometers long. Each one was painted black, barely visible against the void of space. Each one carried weapons that the conquered sensors could not even identify. And they appeared above every important world in the galaxy at the same time. Above Prime, the home of people, 30,000 dreadnoughts formed a wall across the sky. They blocked out the stars. They blocked out the sun. The planet fell into shadow. Above the 50,000 dreadnoughts took position. Their weapons were armed. Their shields were raised. They said nothing. They simply waited. Above every conquered capital, above every major trading hub, above every military base, the Terran fleet appeared. There was nowhere to run. There was nowhere to hide. Humanity had surrounded them all. Admiral stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Resolve. Around him, his officers worked with quiet efficiency. Vice Admiral monitored the fleet positions. Captain O coordinated the communications. Dozens of others handled weapons, shields, navigation, and sensors. "Open a channel to all conquered frequencies," ordered. "Channel open, sir." Took a deep breath. He had waited 100 years for this moment. His father had waited before him. His grandfather had started the first hidden shipyard. 4 generations of his family had worked toward this single day. "This is Fleet Admiral of the Terran Defense Force, speaking to all members of the Galactic Concord." His voice broadcast across the galaxy. Every species, every world, every ship heard his words. "For 100 years you mocked us. You called us primitive. You called us weak. You stole from us. You restricted our trade. You let our children die from diseases we had cured centuries ago, all because you would not allow us to buy medicine." On Prime listened with growing horror. He remembered the first meeting with humans. He remembered laughing at them. He remembered telling them they would be extinct in 10,000 years. "We accepted this," continued. "We endured every insult. We paid every unfair tax. We bowed our heads and called you masters, and all the while we prepared." The conquered fleet scrambled to respond. 12,000 warships, the combined military might of 17 species, rushed to form defensive lines around the core worlds. They were among the most powerful vessels in the galaxy. They were outnumbered 40-1. 3 days ago, they attacked our colony on 7. They murdered 8,000 innocent people. They bombed hospitals and schools. They killed children, not in war, not in any conflict, simply because they wanted our minerals and believed we could not stop them. On the bridge paused. His voice grew colder. "They believed wrong." He let the silence stretch for a moment before continuing. We do not seek conquest. We do not want your worlds. We do not wish to rule the galaxy. We want only one thing, justice for 7. The commanders who ordered the attack will surrender themselves to face trial. If they do not, there will be consequences. Found his voice. He activated the Concord's response channel, broadcasting to all frequencies. You dare threaten us. The Galactic Concord has ruled these stars for 12,000 years. We have crushed 100 species who dared to challenge us. We will not bow to primitive apes who. You have 6 hours to comply, interrupted. The transmission ended. The silence that followed was the loudest thing had ever heard. Around the galaxy, trillions of beings watched the human fleet hold position. The dreadnoughts did not advance. They did not attack. They simply waited, patient and still, like predators who knew their prey had nowhere to go. On the Eternal Resolve approached. Sir, the conquered fleet is forming up around Prime. They are preparing to fight. Nodded slowly. Let them prepare, it will not matter. And if they refuse to surrender their commanders. Looked at the viewport. The stars seemed different now. For a century, those stars had represented oppression and mockery and suffering. Now they represented something else. Now they represented justice. Then we will do what we came here to do, he said. We will show them exactly what humanity is capable of, and the galaxy will never forget. The 6-hour countdown began. The universe held its breath. The 6 hours passed slowly. The High Command met in their war chamber, deep beneath the surface of there. Around the table sat the 7 admirals who controlled their entire military. At the head sat Supreme Commander, the oldest and most powerful of them all. They are bluffing, declared. His scales shifted from green to red, a sign of anger. Humans are cowards. They talk about peace and friendship. They do not have the stomach for real war. Supreme Commander, one of the younger admirals said carefully, they have 500,000 dreadnoughts. Our entire fleet numbers only 2,000. Numbers mean nothing without the will to use them. The humans sent 1 ship to their first meeting with the Conquered. 1 ship. They accepted Tier 7 status without protest. They are weak. They have always been weak. But the massacre at 7 was necessary, snapped. Those minerals belong to the humans should have given them up willingly. Their deaths are their own fault. The admirals exchanged uneasy glances, but none of them spoke against their commander. Had ruled the military for 40 years. His word was law. We will not surrender, announced. We will call the humans bluff. When they see that we do not fear them, they will back down. They always back down. He was wrong. When the 6 hours ended, Admiral sent one final message. You have chosen your path, so be it. The Terran fleet moved. It was not a charge. It was not a rush. The dreadnoughts simply advanced, smooth and silent, closing the distance between themselves and the defensive line. 2,000 warships faced 50,000 human dreadnoughts. They fired first. Their weapons were powerful. They had destroyed countless enemies over the centuries. They had conquered entire species with those weapons. The beams lanced out toward the approaching dreadnoughts, bright and deadly. The beams hit the Terran shields and stopped. Not slowed, not weakened, stopped. The energy simply vanished, absorbed by technology that the Conquered had never seen before. Then the humans fired back. The battle lasted 11 minutes. Human weapons cut through shields like they were made of paper. Dreadnoughts moved with impossible coordination, each one knowing exactly where to be, exactly when to fire. There was no wasted motion, no missed shots, no hesitation. The fleet did not retreat. They could not retreat. The human dreadnoughts had surrounded them completely. They fought with the desperation of trapped animals, but it made no difference. When it was over, 2,000 warships had been reduced to floating debris. The human fleet had not lost a single vessel. Then the Terran guns fell silent. The galaxy waited. Everyone expected the humans to advance on them. Everyone expected bombardment, invasion, occupation. It was what the conquered species had always done to their defeated enemies. But the human fleet did not move. Admiral's voice broadcast once more. The officers responsible for 7 are dead. Their ships have been destroyed. Justice has been served. He paused. We have no quarrel with the people, only with those who gave the order to murder innocents. The war is over. We will take no further action. On Prime could not believe what he was hearing. The humans had won. They had absolute power. They could destroy the entire Concord if they wanted, and they were stopping. He activated the communication channel with trembling hands. Why, he asked. You could destroy us all. You have the power. Why would you stop? From the eternal resolve, a different voice answered. It was older, calmer, familiar. Ambassador Park, now in his 160th year, his body sustained by human medical technology, spoke to the High Arbiter one final time. Because we are not you, said simply. Remembered the ambassador. He remembered the small man with the calm eyes who had accepted every insult with a patient smile. He remembered laughing at him. A century ago, continued, you asked why we came in only one ship. You assumed it meant weakness, but we came in one ship because we did not need more. We came in peace because we wanted peace. The old ambassador leaned forward. You could have had our friendship, our technology, our partnership. We would have shared everything. Instead, you chose cruelty. You chose mockery. You chose to treat us like animals because you believed we could not stop you. His voice grew heavier. Now you know the truth. We were never weak. We were patient, and our patience has limits, but our mercy does not. In the months that followed, everything changed. The tiered species system was abolished. Equal representation was granted to all members of the conquered, including humanity. The government, terrified of what might happen if they provocation the humans again, underwent a peaceful revolution. New leaders rose, leaders who understood that the old ways of conquest and cruelty were over. The human fleet to Terran space, but everyone knew it was still there. 500,000 dreadnoughts, watching, waiting, a reminder that humanity would never be threatened again. Lee, the survivor of 7, was offered a seat on the new Joint Council. She declined. Instead, she joined the crew of a Terran exploration vessel called the Dawn Horizon. Captain O commanded it. Their mission was simple: travel beyond the known galaxy and find new species, new worlds, new possibilities. On the day they departed, found on the observation deck, she stood at the viewport, watching the stars pass by. Second thoughts, he asked. She shook her head. No, I keep thinking about what Ambassador Park said, about how they could have had our friendship. And I wonder about the species out there that we have not met yet, the ones who do not know anything about the conquered or humans or any of this history. She turned to face him. Maybe they will make a different choice. Maybe they will see us and choose partnership instead of conquest. Nodded slowly, and if they do not. Smiled, it was a small smile, tired but real. Then they will learn the same lesson the conquered learned. Humanity does not break. We bend and wait and build, and when someone pushes us too far. She did not need to finish the sentence. The dawn horizon accelerated toward the unknown regions of space. Behind them, the Milky Way shrank to a band of light. Ahead, new stars waited. For the first time in a century, humanity faced the future without fear. They had proven themselves. They had earned their place among the stars, not through cruelty or conquest, but through patience, preparation, and the refusal to become the monsters they had fought against. The galaxy would remember this lesson for a very long time. And somewhere out there, among the countless stars yet unexplored, new friends were waiting to be found. All humanity had to do was reach out and find them.